I have to tell you, don't call me a nutritionist.
What happened?
Since I'm not a certified nutritionist, as soon as somebody calls me a nutritionist, all they want to say is, "Oh, show us your degree. Show us your degree."
Are you qualified?
So everybody calls me a performance chef.
No shit. Is that how we have to twist it up? Performance chef.
Yeah,
That's a perfect way to start it.
just to kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't want to ruffle any feathers. These guys have degrees. It's whatever, man.
And yet you do a better job than quite a few of them. You didn't say that. I did. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
So where to start, man? I guess for everybody listening,
Yeah.
fuck, take it wherever you want. I met you. We'll start with this. I met you at at a mutual friend's house.
Yep.
In the air, an idea of starting a podcast.
Correct.
In walks my friend, and he happens to be a sound engineer.
Yep. I heard you talking about audio and microphones and equipment, and I was like, wait a minute, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is my world. And then we just kind of hit it off, and you were literally like, write me a list of everything I need to start a podcast. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to write a list. And then a few months from now, he's going to say, hey, write me another list, because he hasn't done anything with it. But no, not you. You literally bought everything within a week. And you called me and said, hey, can you come over and help me set this up? I was like, holy shit, you've already bought everything?
Expensive shit, by the way.
Yes,
too.
expensive. And then like, it was pretty cool. All of us guys got together, and some people were builders.
Mhm.
So they built stuff out of the wood. I was more the tech guy with the mics and getting everything set up and tuned. And
I was the guy with a prayer and a dream, just like financing shit. I hope this works, man. That was really what was going on in my head. I'm watching all my friends in the house, right, building up these false walls. Then you're like cabling everything up, hooking shit up, trying to get the computer to work. Shit's not working.
mm-hmm.
And I'm just over here like, damn, is this going to work? Do people want to listen? Like,
Yeah.
do I even have anything interesting to say? That
I
feeling.
know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. We were all kind of excited for you, but we were all like, man, this is a big step. I hope he can do this, because he's spent like, I don't know how much money you spent, at least 25 grand,
Yep.
I would say. And you're like, all or nothing. And so we're like, all right, dude, we got your back,
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we've done for all of us in our own little avenues, all us guys in our little group. So yeah, it's been pretty exciting to see.
So tell them about, so this is what I wanted to get into, your all or nothing moment too. Because
Yeah.
when I met you, dude, the whole nursing thing, he was overworked, underpaid, stressed out, had so many ideas. Just like it would come over every time for meal preps, would come over and just have a million ideas of what you want to do. And all of them sound amazing, but it's just like, you got it all or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking earlier about, I would come over and Bo would say, you're chasing two chickens.
Uh-huh.
And he would tell me this Romanian
Proverb
thing about chasing two chickens. And I was doing the nursing thing, and I was doing a meal prep thing, and it was kind of getting some steam underneath it, and I was getting my name out there, and I was working 7 days a week, and he's like, stop chasing two chickens.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, you know what? One day I just said, fuck it. And boom, went full force into cooking. And then all of a sudden, things just exploded. I got all these huge fight camps, and then I'm traveling all over the world. Before you know it, I'm living in the UK for 6 months with the greatest fighter of all time, arguably in my opinion.
Tyson Fury, by the way, if you're wondering.
Yeah, Tyson Fury. And it was just knowing Bo knows where I came from and what I've been through. And at one point I weighed 407 pounds, and I was going to end my life. I was done. And then I started listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he kind of gave me like insight of like, you can be a better person. You're allowed to change as an adult. Whereas I grew up, adults kind of just stay the same. Once you hit 30, that's who you are for the rest of your life. I never knew you could change. And so getting that insight was a big step in a positive direction for me.
And then the brotherhood, man. I know so many men that email me say they really have no friends or nobody to turn to. Like how? So he wrestles, by the way, and does MMA, goes to the gym. He's not just meal prepping for fighters. This is what he did in the beginning before moving out there and his life getting crazy. He's nursing and on the side as a hustle. And hopefully it would, bear fruit and to make that your main source of income was just meal prepping for fighters and then anybody else that needed meal prep.
Yep.
So you were like overworking yourself, redlining it, but you would still go into the gym. You'd still get after it. You'd still meet all these guys and make all these insane connections.
Yep.
And then you had all of a sudden awoken to like a strong friend group, because I know how fundamental that was for you. Like you kept saying, I can't believe like these are my friends. I can't believe the support, man. Tell me a little bit about
So
this.
like, a lot of your listeners may say they're in a spot where they don't have people. For about 10 years, I had no people. It was just me. And I felt so alone. And like as a man, you're supposed to be the strong guy. But like in those moments, I felt like weak and very vulnerable and lost. And then I had to make the step on my own to like start bettering myself, because if you can't really better yourself, good people aren't going to really bring you in as easily. Right. So I started working on myself and lost the weight. And then, I knew I needed to find a group of friends. And luckily I did. I met Dan, the Hitman Moret, and he kind of introduced me to all you guys, and he showed me who I was. He saw who I was before I saw who I was. And that's so important, because he would not let me get lazy. He would not let me be complacent. He was always on my ass about, what are you doing? What's the next step? Well, you're doing a little too much of that. You need to stop drinking. You need to, I let him use my truck once.
I heard this story.
I let him use my truck, and I told him I'd eaten healthy. I'm a habitual, if I'm stressed, I eat.
Right.
That's how I got 400 pounds. So I'm telling Dan I'm doing all this great stuff, and I'm focused and this and that. I let him use my truck. I get a text message about 10 pages long about how disappointed he is in me, because he found French fries, he found candy wrappers all in my truck, and he's like, it's unacceptable. And so that moment right there, I was just like, fuck, he keeps me accountable, so I can't let this guy down. I can't let any of these guys down in my group, because we all pick each other up, and so having a crew that like understands your potential and won't let you do anything less than, right? That's so huge. And, like podcasts like this and other guys that are on the same mission, it's so important for men, because it makes better men. I'm a better father now. I'm a better boyfriend. I'm a better friend now, because I understand the community and how important it is to like be with a group of men that want to see you win. It's been really great. It's been life-changing.
And then tell me about some of those, because you've had a ton of low points in life, man. Yeah. Obviously, right? Yeah. You got to the point where you're thinking about ending it all. And so I know you had some low points, even at my place, when you would come over and just completely confused, like, I don't know if I should do this. Right. Kind of looking for somebody to, I guess, entertain the idea of why you should stay where you are. Right. You're seeking that. Is it okay to just be this and that's it? Or should I be more? Because it was like what we were saying earlier, that unknown path. Yeah. Change is scary, man.
So scary.
So then I remember you would come over and a million ideas, and they were all just ideas. Yep. No real plan behind them.
Nope.
And all you really had was like the cooking thing that you're really getting after, but then the nursing, your primary job, was getting in the way. But then there was that comfort of, that's my money. Yeah. That's how I survive.
Yeah.
And then, so the change in him, I think it's when you saw the podcast start working, and I kept showing you like, hey man, this is possible. And like the whole back against the wall that we keep going back to, it's just, that's true. Because remember, I was day trading, all that other stuff, and essentially cut everything off. And I said, if this doesn't work, I'm done for it. That's it. There's no other choice.
Yeah. There's no lifeline.
Yeah.
And I cut all my lines, and it almost felt, it was so scary. But at the same time, I was like, well, I think I'm a badass. Let me prove to myself that I can do this.
Right.
And that I am a badass.
And that was one of the low points because what is it? The imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like I was getting all this praise for my cooking, but I felt like, why do they like me? Why do these people like my food? I wasn't a chef. You know what I'm saying? I never cooked in a restaurant. I didn't have all the accolades. And then I just got to one point where I'm like, if people like my food, they like my food. Who gives a shit what doctorate I have or what degree or where I went to school or what my background is? Who cares? I just got to the point where I know I do good work, my food's good, and I'm getting results. So I was like, well, I'm doing something right. So let me just go full force into this. And, shit, a year later, I'm living with Tyson Fury, listening to him sing Splish Splash, I was taking a bath at the top of his lungs at 6:30 in the morning. And I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck did I get here?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm in his kitchen. He comes down in his Versace robe. Hey, press, how you doing? And you're just like, where am I? What is this life? I have no idea how I even got here. But then you're like, every morning I'd wake up with a little anxiety. Am I going to do good? Is he going to like the food? And I'm like, yeah, he's going to like the food. Yeah, he's going to like me because I give everything to this food. I plan, everything's set in motion. I'm going to do great, So that was the whole. Whereas before I was like, everything's terrible. Nobody likes me. I can't do anything right. This is all wrong. Oh my God. And I would stir myself into these anxiety-ridden panic attacks.
Right. Yeah. You were having panic attacks.
I was having severe panic attacks. And then I just was like, I have nothing to have anxiety about. He loves my food. He loves me. I'm getting compliments everywhere I go.
Exactly.
So be that who they see in you. Be that. Just be that. And so that's all I did was I just kept getting more and more confidence and realizing that like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be fucking doing. Right. And then that's when things just started rolling and rolling. Now I got a cookbook out and I've got some other things down the road coming in. And it's just, when you open that first door, that scary door of like change, you look in there and you don't see anything. And then you step in that door and then there's 100 doors, 100 more doors of opportunities to go down all these different paths just because you took the first step. It's been incredible. It really has.
And what's crazy is because like, yeah, if you would have asked yourself or anybody a year ago, like, where would you see yourself a year from now? You'd have been so way off the mark. Like, no idea, dude. You really have no idea. Like, once you decide to do something, that path unknown, like, you really have no idea what door is going to open for you.
Yeah.
Like, those 100 doors, it'll be one you never even saw.
You didn't even know it was possible.
Exactly. It's insane. 1 year.
Like, I thought when I quit my job and I was going to have this meal prep company, it was just like, all right, cool. I'm going to cook for some fighters. I'm going to help some people lose weight. I'm going to, I'll have like a really good business to help people, and I have a good face for the business because of my weight loss and I'm a pretty good talker and I can, motivate you. And I'm like, this is going to be cool. And then all of a sudden I'm in Dallas.
Right. Yeah. Take me through your first big break and then walk me through all the way how you get to Tyson Fury. Because that's insane.
So I quit my job like 2 weeks before Christmas. Right, which is like the perfect time to quit your job, right, before the holidays, right? But I just knew if I waited till after Christmas and then I'll wait until after the first of the year. Oh, then I'll wait until March. I knew I would do that, so I was like, 2 weeks, I'm done. So by January, I'm in full stride. I got my meal prep business going. I'm making like 400 or 500 meals a week. I'm really starting to hit my stride, and then my manager, who is like one of the top nutritionists in the game, George Lockhart, he was like Conor McGregor's nutritionist, Tyson's nutritionist, all the big names for many, many years. He calls me and he's like, hey, brother, I got a big opportunity for you. And he's like, there's nobody else that I think can do it but you. And I was like, coming from him, who I looked up to, I studied him. I've taken his courses, so for him to come to me and say that, I'm like, holy shit, like this is amazing. And he's like, well, you're going to go to Dallas and you're going to go work with the welterweight champion of the world, Errol Spence Jr. And I'm like, holy shit, like, holy crap. And he's like, you got 5.5 weeks. He's got to lose 20 pounds. And this is a guy that has probably 8 or 9% body fat. You know, it was going to be a challenge. But, you know, at the end of the day, it went smooth and he lost all the weight. He made weight. He said it was the easiest weight cut he's ever done. He loved the food. But one of the most amazing moments of that was they didn't tell me, but they let me walk out. And when I walked out, 60,000 people, like the sound you can hear and the sound you can feel. And it was just so surreal to me going like, well, 6 years ago, I was 400 pounds. And now look where I'm at right now. It was just like nobody in the stadium knows that I used to be a big fat guy. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm just walking with the team. I look like a fighter. I'm with the fighting team. I must be a fighter. That's what everybody else thinks. But in my head, I'm going, this is the coolest fucking moment. Because like my kids get to see like dad as a fat guy and now dad with one of the best
on TV.
Athletes. Yeah, he's on TVs in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. He's in the locker room with all these famous people. And so it was a really cool moment. And then after that camp, my phone just blew up, you know, DMs. Hey, I want you to come work for me. I want you to come work for me. But George is like, I got a guy for you. He's like, I really think you'll do well with him. His name's Joseph Parker. I'm like, cool. He's like, but I'm going to need you to be in the UK in April. I'm like, okay. But the fight fell through. So I didn't have anything. And so he goes, well, I know he's not a fighter, but do you listen to country music? And I said, yeah, I love country music. I'm a corn-fed hillbilly from Ohio. Hell yeah, I love country. He goes, do you know who Brantley Gilbert is? And I'm like, yeah, I know who Brantley Gilbert is. He's like, he wants a guy. So I went out there in June with Brantley, and since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a rock star. You know what I'm saying? I love music, and I wanted to tour, and I wanted to play shows. That was like my childhood dream. And then all of a sudden, I'm on the tour bus touring the country with one of the biggest rock stars in the world. I get to walk out on the stage, do the prayer with them before they go out, and they hit that big chord and the flames and everything. And I'm like, I'm not the rock star, but I'm right there. You know what I'm saying? I'm within reaching grasp of the rock star. And then you're on private jets, and you're like, what is my life? This is so crazy, you know? And but after Brantley, I got a call from George again, and he said, well, Joe's got a fight, and Tyson Fury also wants you to cook for him. And I'm like, oh my God.
That Tyson Fury.
That Tyson Fury? You know, I'll tell you a story about Tyson. So, like, I suffer from depression and anxiety and all this shit, and so does Tyson, right? And he was really open on Joe Rogan's podcast about having depression and overcoming the depression. And I thought to myself, like, when I was watching it, if the heavyweight champion of the world has depression and he's battling through it too, it's okay for me to battle through depression, and I can get through it as well. It gave me like courage almost. And I remember I had a talk with Tyson. He was like, Presley, who's the most famous person you know? I said, you, Tyson. You're the most famous person. And then I told him that story about how I listened to the podcast and I grew from it. I gained from it, you know? And he was like, I had a similar thing with Rick Ross. Rick Ross, I would listen to him while I was running before I was nobody. And then all of a sudden, Rick Ross started texting me. He's like, that's when I was like, oh no, holy crap, I made it. He's like, so Presley, you've made it, you know, and hearing Tyson say that to you is so cool and so amazing to have that full circle moment, you know, and be able to thank him personally. There was nobody there. It was just me and him at breakfast, just to personally thank him for like giving me the courage to like talk openly about my depression as well, you know, to help people, you know, that are struggling, because, you know, there are a lot of men that suffer from depression that just kind of keep it buried inside, and then they can never get better as a man. You know what I'm saying? So once I realized that I was suffering and I was hurting and why I was hurting, then I got to move on. And then I got to bigger and better things started happening for me, you know.
How'd you get, so that's an interesting question. How'd you find out why? How'd you get to your why? Because most people are kind of suffering without knowing.
Yeah, well, I just knew I would watch happy people and I would be like, why are they so happy? How can they be so happy? I just remember thinking to myself, like, if somebody was happy, they're fake.
Mm.
You can't be happy all the time. Nobody's happy. And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm just sad all the time. Why am I sad all the time? Well, I don't work out anymore. I don't go outside anymore. I don't have any relationship with any men, like boys. I don't have any friends, really. I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't have anything to look forward to. So I started filling in those gaps. You know, I went and took a welding class with a group of guys. I went and took a pottery class with a bunch of girls. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just knew I needed to start learning and putting myself out there a little bit more. I went to dinner by myself. I would do all these things by myself and really learn who I was. And then, journaling, I would talk to myself in there. And then I would go back and read it and be like, why do you talk to yourself like that?
Mm.
That's not good. Like there would be pages, not one positive thing. It would be, you're a piece of shit. Look at you. You're a failure. You're all this, you're all that. And then I was like, oh, this is all the stuff that my dad used to say to me when I was a kid.
Mm.
So I was hanging on to that. It was almost like my crutch. If I'm a piece of shit, I'm a worthless, so I can't be great. I can't do great things. I was using that as an excuse. So I was like, get rid of that through maybe allegedly some psychedelics. And I kind of found myself, and I allowed myself to realize that, hey, bro, you're allowed to be happy. You're allowed to have a great group of friends. That you're allowed to talk to your friends and be vulnerable with them, because they might make fun of you at first, but at the same time, they're gonna support you and pick you up. And like Dan did. One day he picked me up from. I was cooking all day. He picked me up. He goes, "Get in the truck. We're going to Lake Pleasant." I'm like, okay.
Typical Dan.
We go to Lake Pleasant and we motor on down to these cliffs. And he goes, You're doing a backflip today. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not doing a backflip today. Fast forward about 10 minutes later, I was doing a backflip off a 10-foot rock into the water. Never done a backflip in my life. But it was Dan's way of going, I can see Presley's starting to dive because he's working too much. I knew that's what it was after the fact. And it revitalized me and brought my spirits back up. But that's why you need guys. You need a group of friends they'll go, you're struggling, dude. Let's go have a beer, or let's go have a hard workout.
The check-ins, yeah.
Yeah, the check-ins are huge, And I continued to check in with Dan and Adam and Keith and you, and while I was in the UK. And I remember checking in with Bo. I checked in with him. I said, hey, bro, fight camp's going great. It's amazing. We're having a great time. They love the food. All Bo wrote back was, who gives a fuck? Work harder. That's all you texted. Do you remember texting that?
I think vaguely, yeah.
That's all he said to me was like, no, you said, that's all good, bro. Who gives a fuck? Work harder. And I was like, roger that. And I was like, because I was feeling myself a little bit, but then I knew, like, if you start feeling yourself, you might get a little lackadaisical and comfortable, and then maybe not perform as strong. So I was like, oh yeah, I needed that. I needed that, because he could tell that I was like,
little ego's coming in, rearing its head. How can it not, bro? You're on the fucking like edge a year ago, and within 12 months, now it's like the most insane lifestyle possible. And like, how can you not let that seep in and be like, I could let my foot off the gas. I am the shit. You know what? My stuff is the best.
Yeah. But at the same time, I've always kept the humbleness of, like, as fast as I got this is as fast as it could go away. And I don't want it to go away. You know what I'm saying? So I need to make sure that I am performing at the highest level all the fucking time. No excuses. Like when I'm in fight camp, it's 7 days a week. You don't get days off. Can you work 7 days a week? Yeah, I did it for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And half of it was working a job I didn't want to do, but I still did it for 4 years. Yeah, I can do a job that I love 7 days a week for 8 weeks at a time. Easy day. It's the easiest. It's not the easiest job, but it's like, it doesn't feel like a job.
Right.
Like I get to wake up and cook for like the greatest athletes in the world. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, hey, Press, today we're going to go to London. So just pack some lunches for us. We're going to go to London and spend time in London. You're like, okay, car service, drive you all the way down. It's just wild.
It feels like luxury.
Oh, it's like luxurious.
So going back to we were on depression, man. Tell me about like, are you still in that state of mind even today? Has like your life essentially reinforced like, no, this is not who I am. I really do belong here. Like, how are you dealing with that? Because even though everything can go great for somebody, we were talking about Anthony Bourdain, right? Like, and how I've been binge watching his stuff, and you just got a tattoo of him, right? And I'm just like, somebody that seems to have it all and doing so well, right, on the outside, does not reflect inside. Yeah,
I mean, you're lying to yourself if every day is a great day. I just some days I'm down, but I have better coping mechanisms now. I can realize my bullshit. I know what I'm doing before I start doing it. I start seeing myself like, oh yeah, just grab the pack of Oreos. Just grab them. Just eat one when you get home. That's all you got to do. And then like the whole pack will be gone. I'm like, no. We're not going to go down that path again. So I'm better at realizing who I am and how my brain operates. And so if I'm a little bit angry or anxious, when's the last time you got a hard workout in? Oh, I haven't had a hard workout in like 3 days. Let me go do a hard workout. And then everything seems to kind of subside and lift off my shoulders. And I'm like, why do I stop working out? But yeah, I do still have some demons that I'm battling through, but I know now how to combat them. You know what I'm saying? I have more of a, like I said, coping mechanisms. I have a bigger tool shed full of tools to utilize to suppress or get rid of that depression. Like I haven't had any anxiety attacks. I remember the first Christmas without my kids after the divorce. I went on a ride out in the mountains and I had an anxiety attack and I passed out. And when I woke up, I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was. I remember sitting there thinking like, I'm all alone. Where is everybody? What am I doing? And that was really scary for me. And then I'm like, I never want to have an anxiety attack again. How do I combat these? Through breathing and through other little things, and checking in with yourself and your friends. And, but like I said, these demons are never going away. Some of them are good for motivation for me. And I think I'll cross that bridge when I'm ready to get rid of some of these other things like my childhood and all that stuff. But I'm getting pretty close to resolving everything. I feel really good. I really do. So yeah. Well,
for the coping mechanisms, all right. So I have a lot of people on the channel that are overweight and trying to lose weight, and ground zero. They don't know anything about nutrition, working out. This is like your specialty. Can you break it down for someone with experience, literally 400 something fucking pounds? Like, how did you do it? They're all looking and wondering probably.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to sell you anything.
Yeah. Don't sugarcoat it.
Listen, you got to have a fucking talk with yourself. Do you want to do this or do you not want to do this? You can't half-ass it. You have to go all or nothing. And what I did was small changes over time create big results. That's what I kept telling myself. I'd be like, when I first started, I'm like, I'm going to eat one healthy meal today. And then I did and I felt great. I'm like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to eat 2 healthy meals. Or I'm going to not drink any soda tomorrow. Just small little things I would do. And then all of a sudden I started feeling great. And I do 30-minute calls with people about weight loss. And they're like, what do you do? How do you do this? It's like, you have to make it up to yourself. You can only be the one that does it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to make sure you plan. Cook your chicken, have it in the fridge. No excuses. If somebody's eating cake at a birthday party, guess what? You don't get that 30 seconds of mouth pleasure. You just don't, you haven't earned it. You've eaten copious amounts of cake in the past or whatever it may be. Now this is your time to sit back and just watch other people eat. You have to make small little changes and sacrifice, and then be in a calorie deficit. And you're going to be in a calorie deficit if you cut all the shit and just eat healthy food right away. Mm. And then as you go, you'll understand how your body needs to be fueled. And then the way I did it was keto. I don't recommend keto, but I didn't really know much about nutrition at that time. And after I got 100 pounds down, I started implementing carbs back into my diet because I was doing like mountain biking and whatnot. But that's going to come down the road. You'll be ready for that when you cross that bridge. Mm-hmm. But at first, small changes. You can't just go, all right, today I'm going to eat super healthy for the rest of my life after 10 years of eating like shit. It's not practical. Small changes over time create big results. That's all I can say.
And then what exercises do you recommend a big man get into first? Because people will have joint issues, back issues, whatever. Like, how do you ease them into that?
So, I mean, believe it or not, I lost 100 pounds with zero exercise. I didn't do anything other than the occasional walk with the kids, being outside, getting some sunshine. That was it. And then I was very weak. It hurt to walk at this point. So I got on a bike and I just slowly rode a bike around. I made sure I was out in nature. That seemed to really reset my brain because I wanted to be happy again. And I was thinking to myself, when was the last time you were truly, truly happy? And I was like, well, when I was about 12 years old, I'd ride my bike everywhere. And it was just so fun. So I'm like, let me go get a bike. I know I like it. So I started riding around. And then all of a sudden I was riding 100 miles a week because I was just obsessed, you know? So find something you like to do, get your body moving, understand that you can't do what you used to do when you were a kid. Go within your range, and then you'll slowly build strength, and then you'll start lifting weights or doing jujitsu or whatever it may be, and you'll gain more and more strength.
What's your advice for somebody that's going to undergo this and then they get, say, curveball thrown at them, bad news, something happens, and that's like when people start to fold?
Well, that's life. Mm-hmm. If the quicker you realize that every day is not going to be perfect, and you understand how to like, oh shit, my dog just died. Well, I guess I'm going to go to McDonald's and grab whatever. No. Take a deep breath, take a step back and say, how are you going to feel after you eat that crap? Or how are you going to feel after you down a whole bottle of booze? How are you going to feel? You're going to feel like shit. Don't waste all your hard work on 30 seconds of mouth pleasure. That's how I looked at it. Was like, I would eat that cake and go, oh my God, so good. And then it was gone. That pleasure was gone immediately. And then you'd either eat another bite or you'd feel like shit for the rest of the day because you're having all these spikes, these insulin spikes. And it wasn't worth it to me anymore. And so when you make your mind up to that, I really believe that you can kind of just stay on track. And people, oh, when do you have a cheat meal? I don't even think about a cheat meal. What do you mean? When am I going to have a cheat meal? You have the wrong mindset. When do I get to eat cake again? I don't know. Maybe never. Because you might not want it anymore. Like I remember the first time I ate some cake, I was like, it tastes like chemicals to me. It doesn't taste good anymore to me. I'd rather have a big bowl of fruit with Greek yogurt and honey and, like that's more satisfying to me. But I don't know, man. You have to make it up yourself. You have to do it for yourself. Because once you make that change, like we were talking about the doors, as soon as I made that change, I got another door appeared. I was like, what door is that? And I looked in there. It's like, oh, wow, I could be a jiu-jitsu competitor. I could compete in sports again. Holy crap. Or, oh my God, I get to cook for a UFC fighter. How crazy. I thought that was the pinnacle of my career, cooking for one UFC fighter. I'm like, it could never get any better than this, but you keep progressing, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're living in the UK for 6 months.
Right. Jesus Christ. So that weight loss, dude, right? That's like a perfect segue. So before you get this big break and you're fat, you're losing weight, and obviously you love cooking, right? And that doesn't help because you can cook anything you want.
Right.
So like, okay, you're starting to lose all this weight. You're already starting to go to the gym, right? With all these UFC fighters, you're starting to ask to cook for them.
Yeah.
Is this during the weight loss or after?
It's after the weight loss. I didn't really know I could cook. I had lost like 180 pounds, 190 pounds, and I auditioned for the show MasterChef. And I did it on a whim, right? And I was the only person out of 1,000 people that cooked something healthy. I cooked a healthy dish, and I was Arizona's finalist for the show. And that's right there at that moment, which I had another full circle moment with the MasterChef, I'll tell you. At that moment, when I was at the audition, the chefs pulled me aside and said, I don't care what you're doing with your life. Food is what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know what,
Wow.
I don't know why you're not in some type of culinary art. And I was just like, whoa, I had never had chefs say that to me. I was like, okay, so that's how I got the ball rolling with cooking. I was like, I love fighting. I love cooking. I know fighters need food. So I was like, all I did, I mean, in the Phoenix area, you got the MMA lab and you've got Fight Ready. And then down in Gilbert, you've got Ryan Bader's gym down there. I can't remember the name of it. So you have 3 huge gyms in the valley. I'm like, I looked up every fighter in the valley and I DM'd them. Every single one of them. Hey, I'm Presley. I do meal preps. I can help you. Blah, 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 blah. One fighter, one out of hundreds, messaged me back. Hey, bro, I'm flying in from San Diego. I need a meal prep guy. I was like, oh, okay, hell yeah. This is it. This is my break, right? So then I just told, his name was Shane Crutchin. He was a Bellator fighter. And I told him, I'll give you half the fight camp for free. I just want you to eat the food at the gym. Because I knew the smell of my food.
Genius.
Right? And I even told him, I said, don't talk about my food to people. Just eat it there. Because you know how like you get a guy, hey bro, I got a meal prep guy. This
Right,
awesome.
yeah.
You're like, no, get out of here. But I told Shane, just eat the food. Don't even talk about it really. Let people approach you. If they approach you, boom. Well, he was living with Dan.
Ah.
So that's how I met Dan, right? And then all of a sudden Shane's like, hey, I got a UFC guy. I'm like, a UFC guy? Holy shit, And then that's when I met Dan and then Henry. And then, all of a sudden I'm with Henry Cejudo and Davison Figueroa. And then I got a call one day. I was driving down the road. I was just right out here. And it was a number I didn't notice. And I answered the call. And he's like, is this Presley? And I said, yeah. Who is this? And he goes, hey, brother, it's Kelvin Gastelum, who at the time was one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. I'm like, how did you get my number? He's like, oh, the guys told me you're the best because I'd love for you to cook for me. I'm like, holy smoke. Like, what the hell is going on here? So I knew that I had something there, and I kind of looked the part too. I was skinny. I was in shape at this point. And so then showing up at the gym, everybody knew who I was all of a sudden. What's up, Press? He's the food guy. Here's the food guy. And then, I was cooking for Tracy Cortez. I was cooking for Little Monster. I mean, all these fighters at Fight Ready and a few at the MMA lab. And it kind of gave me the chops to really get ready for the big time show, because I was cooking, like I said, 400 to 500 meals a week, sometimes even more for these guys. So I really had to get good at cooking because I couldn't afford time wise to screw up any dishes. So that got me ready for going to Errol, going to Tyson, because that food's got to be on the table at 6:30 and it's got to be good. If it's not, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of pressure there, but I never felt any pressure cooking. I was never like, is he gonna like my food or anything? Maybe the first couple meals, I'd be like, oh shit, he's eating my food. Does he like it? But after a while, it was good to go. So
And the full circle with MasterChef.
okay, so the full circle with MasterChef. So I'm in camp with Tyson, and at the beginning of camp, Tyson was asking me how I got into cooking, and I told him the MasterChef thing, and I'm like, I'm a big fan of Gordon Ramsay. He's like, really, I just like his personality on the show. He's funny and this and that. And Tyson's like, I'm a friend of Gordon. Like, we're good friends. I'm like, no way. He's like, yeah. This was like week 2 of the fight camp, right? So flash forward, we're at the Tottenham Stadium in London. We're backstage. Tyson's just got his gear on. He's getting ready to go fight. And all of a sudden, Gordon Ramsay comes in. Tyson goes, first thing he does, he goes, press. Where's press at? Where's press? He brings me over to meet Gordon. He goes, Gordon, this is my chef. And I'm like, holy shit. Hey, Gordon, nice to meet you. Like, holy crap. I'm like I'm a little starstruck. And Tyson's like, he's a big fan of yours. I'm like, oh, it's really great to meet you. Just kind of like real quick. Because to be honest, Gordon didn't want a thing to do with me. He wanted to talk to Tyson and then go. Right. So he kind of said, hi, how are you? Very nicely. And then turned around and I was like, okay, cool. So I text my girl. I'm like, honey, I just met Gordon. I don't get a response from her. Gordon leaves and then I get a response. She goes, look who I'm sitting next to.
What?
It's Gordon Ramsay. She goes, guess who he's sitting next to? You. I'm like, Gordon's sitting next to me? And I was like, yeah. So I come out. After we walk, I come out to my seat and Gordon's sitting right here. I'm like, hey, he's like, hey, what's up, chef? How are you? And then he's like, the ring's small. Like, he's asking me all these boxing questions. And we just start chopping it up like old pals. And I'm like making him laugh. And, we're just having a good, comfortable, non-awkward conversation. And Vera goes like this. She goes, tell him your story. So I leaned over, I tell him my story. He goes, I got this far without getting emotional, Bo. I'm an emotional guy.
It's a record.
Yeah, it's a record. So I just have this, like, he leans over and I tell him the whole story. And I'm like, you're the reason I'm cooking, bro. You're the whole reason I'm cooking. He's like, I love that. That's an amazing story. Amazing. He's like, you're an amazing person. He's like, I want to work with you in the future. Anytime you're near any of my restaurants, you let me know and I'll set up a showcase. And I'm like, okay, yeah, how am I going to get a hold of Gordon Ramsay? Right before he leaves, he goes, scan this. I scan it. It's his personal cell phone number.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, he stands up. He like gives me a hug. He puts his finger in my chest. He goes, you better contact me. I want to hear from you and I want to work with you in the future. I'm serious. And I'm like, okay. So then like, like 2 days later, like you get a girl's number and you're like, I'm going to wait 2 days or whatever. She's like, my girl is like, text him. So I text him. Within 5 minutes, he responds. Hey, Presley, it's great. It was so great to meet you. Your story's amazing. Like, he kind of like recapped everything we talked about that night. Wow. So I knew it was him. And I saved the text, obviously.
Screenshot.
I screenshot the text. I sent it to a couple buddies. I'm like, look at this shit. This is absolutely incredible. And I don't know for sure, but I think Tyson had something to do with it.
Really?
Because, like, there's 65,000 people sitting in that stadium. Tyson gave me what's called the Golden Circle ring access, which is only for celebrities. He gave me and Vera one. I was sitting within reaching distance of the ring. And Gordon Ramsay's sitting right here.
Huh.
Out of all the seats.
Suspicious.
You know what I'm saying? And then like I bring it up to the boys and they're like, I don't know if Tyson has that much pull and this and that. And then another guy was like, if Tyson wanted something like that to happen, he could make it happen. And I was like, maybe he did. I will never ask him. I'll never truly know. But if that was a coincidence, that's a hell of a coincidence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was such a cool moment. I've had so many of those cool moments that like, if I was like 400 pounds, I would never get to experience, you know? So that's like all this success of like my food and this and that is great, but you get to collect all these experiences now, which is like the coolest fucking part of all of this. The people you get to meet, the stories I think I have a crazy story, and then you hear somebody else's story and you're like, oh, I didn't have it that hard. You know what I'm saying? You get to see, like, we were with the travelers, you know, the gypsies, they call them travelers. And a lot of them are multi-million-dollar, you know, business owners, and they can't read or write.
What?
Like, if you send them a text message, they'll send you a voice note back, say, hey, brother, could you just voice note me?
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, you understand, like, everyone has a struggle. It's what you do with it is what counts or what matters. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's got shit. So can you push through it, or are you just going to use that as your excuse to not do anything? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I saw that dynamic. You see people that just give up and they're okay with working at a convenience store, you know, selling cigarettes to people. Whereas like I thought I wanted to do something great. I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to experience the world. I wanted to experience other cultures. I wanted to like live a full life. So when I'm on my deathbed talking to my grandkids, they're like, fuck, grandpa was a badass. Grandpa went here, grandpa went there. You know what I'm saying? I have all this life experience, you know, because I can give that to my kids as well, you know? So.
And then I wanted to ask, because obviously rough childhood, you can share about that as much as you like, of course, but how does a guy that's in like a similar position, man, so negative in his own head and like beat down by life, no tools in the shed, he knows he wants something different, but he has like no idea where to be, how does he take his first step? Like, how did you break that?
Well, you know, like I said, I had that inner like, there's something more for me. And maybe others don't have that, but if you're kind of stuck and you're unhappy with, say, your job or your relationship or something like that, you have to make a plan and make a change. So if that means getting more skills, say you want to be a website developer. Well, what do you got to do to become a website developer? Do you have to go to school? Can you do YouTube courses? Can you have a little side hustle? You know, you just got to figure it out for yourself. And there's so many resources. Talk to somebody, you know, sometimes you're in your own way and you don't even realize it. That was my case. I started going to therapy and I started talking to a therapist, and she was like, you know, a lot of this stuff is all made up in your own head. You know that, right? And like, I started thinking about like, oh, I'm creating these hard times for myself instead of just like dealing with the problem, accepting it and moving on. I would dwell and it would just keep going over and over and over and in my head, and I just couldn't get rid of it. So then I learned how to accept problems, either change them, accept them, or how to avoid them. For the next time, just learning. Like I said, for the weight loss thing, you have to do it for yourself. You have to make a plan and you have to do it for yourself. It's pretty self-explanatory. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants this long, lavish, how did you do it? How did you do it? I don't know. I wanted something better for myself, and I started copying habits of others that were very successful. I saw little habits here, little habits there. I would take little things, and then all of a sudden I created my own little habits of success and healthy thinking and coping mechanisms. But it doesn't happen overnight. That's another thing. This doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in a month. Sometimes it takes years. But if it takes years, at least you're on the right track for years. And then all of a sudden, 3 years down the road, you're feeling healthy, happy, motivated, now you're ready to go and get something great for yourself at that point. Sometimes it might take a month or two of like healthy eating, healthy thinking habits, all that type of stuff. So it's going to be a long road. You just have to stick with it. If you do it for a little while and then give up, then you're like, well, it didn't work. Well, you didn't give it the full potential to make it work. So.
And did your weight loss journey, because you say married, was this after the divorce you started to lose weight? Like, was the life change? When was it starting?
So I started losing the weight. I was married, and then I lost all the weight and I was divorced. And I was thinking to myself, I lost all this weight. Excuse me. I lost all this weight. I looked good. I felt good. I felt happy. And then all of a sudden I get divorced. And then it was like another low point in my life. I had, 2 little girls, a wife, a house, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I get divorced and I'm laying on the bedroom floor of an empty house. That's just a shell. It's not a home anymore because my family's gone. I remember laying on the floor like, well, I just got through all that terrible stuff. I thought good stuff was gonna start happening. Now I have to start almost all over again. And so I had to rebuild myself after the divorce. I lost all confidence in myself. I had no direction really. I was completely lost because I had been married for 11 years and my life was just ushering around the kids and getting them to school and cooking dinner and doing dad stuff. And then all of a sudden I don't have my children or wife anymore. I had no idea what to do. And that's when I started taking welding classes and pottery classes to get outside of my comfort zone, to maybe learn a new skill, or maybe I would find a new friend, or, I didn't know what was going to happen. But, yeah, that was all after the divorce, man. I think about those times. I had no idea how I got through those times because I didn't have you guys yet. I didn't know anyone. I had moved out here with her because her family was here. So I didn't really have anyone here. I just had my kids and her. And now I had my kids half the time. I had no friends. It was a real tough time, but I just knew once I lost all that weight, I knew I could get through anything. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew that I have enough courage and enough tenacity and mental toughness to get through anything at this point, So I just looked at it like, all right, you got another challenge for me? All right, I'll get through this. So,
and so what's the time frame now from like divorced, already had lost weight, and then you're starting all these new activities, and then you meet the first fighter. What's that time frame look like?
4 years.
4 years. And so you meet the fighter, and from meeting this first one, what is the time frame you get your first big break with like Errol Spence?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
So this is the progression you're going through. So, and then you were cooking for Dan and all these other UFC fighters. So that's where we thought that was like a new high, maybe the plateau, maybe cook for the UFC or something like that. We're like, oh my God, we're cooking for a bunch of fighters at a gym.
Yeah.
You're like, my life's getting crazy. I got a new fighter to cook for in a new camp. And then the Errol Spence call came shortly after. And then from Errol to the Brantley, how fast was that one?
I ended with Errol April. I think his fight was like in April, middle of April. And by June, I was with Brantley in Georgia, living with him and all these crazy hillbillies down in Georgia, It was wild. Like, when I got to Brantley's house, I was so fucking nervous. I was on the plane thinking like, oh my God, I'm about to like go live with Brantley Gilbert. This is going to be insane. And I remember like a car picked me up and he lives like an hour outside of Atlanta. So he takes me to this like podunk country town,
middle of
nowhere. Like I feel comfortable because it feels like home. It feels like Ohio to me. And I pull up and he's got these big gates, and he opens up, and there's a driveway that goes straight, and then there's a driveway that goes to the right, and we go to the right, and it says doghouse. And I'm like, what the hell? But this doghouse is enormous. So I walk in, I knock on the door, nobody answers. And so I like walk in, and it's like a big warehouse. I walk in, and Brantley's there, and he's like, hey, brother. He goes, welcome to the doghouse. And I was like, holy shit. And he goes, reaches over, he grabs a pistol. He goes, I know you're going to need one of these while you're here. Here you go. Gives me this pistol. He goes, I haven't even met anybody. He goes, all right, this is the supply locker. You need ammo. You need night vision. You need helmets. You need this. You need that. These lockers. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm like, what the hell? And then I meet all the boys. And then within like 3 hours, it was like we had been friends for years. Like we all just meshed right away, and we were just talking and just, shooting the shit. And I cooked him a meal that same night, and we just bonded so quickly. And then like I went everywhere with him, and like we'd be driving down the highway, and people would be like, Brantley Gilbert, or we'd stop to get a water at the gas station. He'd get mobbed. I'm just like, where am I? And then like he gives me his keys. He goes, this will be your truck while you're here. It's like $150,000 F-350 Kevlar, everything. I can't even get into the damn thing because I'm so short, right? It's jacked up, huge tires, guns, and and I'm driving this thing around, and I'm just like, what is my life? And then one day he goes, we're sitting out on the back porch, and he's like sitting there having a little smoke, and he goes, he grabs his guitar. It's like 3:00 in the morning. He's like, I got an idea for a song. He just starts strumming it, and he's humming, and all of a sudden he writes a verse. And I'm like, I get to watch Brantley Gilbert write songs. I think he's got like 10 platinum records. Like he's an amazing songwriter, and I'm sitting here, just me and him. He's writing songs. I'm just like, this is the most amazing. He's like, that's going to be a good one. Puts his guitar up. He's like, yeah, we'll come back to that one.
Holy shit.
It was so cool because like once in a while he would just be me and him, and he would pick up his guitar and start playing some of the songs that I knew. I knew all the words to, And yeah, it was just wild. And then he was like, hey, we're going to fly to Montana. You want to come? I said, well, you know how I am. I'm like, well, if you need me, I don't want to like be in the way. He goes, do you want to come or not? And I said, yeah, I would love to come. He gets on the phone. He goes, do we have one extra seat on the jet? Yep. All right. Presley's coming. Boom. So boom, all of a sudden we drive 20 minutes down to the airport. We hop on a private jet and fly to Montana. It was like so surreal to be in a private jet with rock stars, just talking about like old road stories. And because he had been on tour since like 06 or something, so he's just got stories for days. And then we land, a car picks us up, drive us in. People are like banging on the windows of the car, like because they know it's Brantley, and then you can hear them chanting his name. And then boom, he goes out on the stage and plays an amazing show. Comes back, we change our clothes, grab something to eat, back on the private jet. 4 hours later, we're back in Georgia in the doghouse.
What are you thinking in these moments? Like when you're seeing shit like this, like people going into the ring or on stage to perform, and you're just right there.
It's almost like I'm watching myself have that moment. It feels out of body. You know what I'm saying? Like it just feels unbelievable, because I'm like, I still have this weird thought in my head. I look in the mirror, I still see the fat guy a little bit. It's like a psychological thing I'm trying to battle with. But so I don't always believe that I'm there. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting ringside for Tyson's last fight, and I'm like, I'm here. Like people would kill to be sitting right where I'm at, and I'm here. Like soak it in, remember it, smell it, taste it, feel it, just take it all in. And then there's other times where a little bit of like, oh my God, I'm here. How the fuck? like, am I dreaming? Like, you know, it just feels so surreal. Like, especially when you make the walk with these fighters, you know what I'm saying? In front of 60,000 people or 50,000 people, and they know you. Chef, what's up, chef? Like I was telling you earlier, I'd be at the coffee shop in Morecambe, and I could feel people looking at me, and I'd be like, "Hi, how are you? Hey, chef, don't mean to bother you, but can we get a picture with you?
Wow.
You know, it's great to meet you." And I'm like, "Sure." I mean, like I have no idea why they want a picture with me, but it's because I'm attached to such a big name, and that big name trusts me to be in the camp. You know, Tyson would tell people, he goes, "There's only 3 people in our camp: me, Sugar Hill, his coach, and Press."
No shit.
There's
Wow.
only 3 people in our camp. He said that in almost every interview. And I was just like, wow. Like when you hear that, and he'd be like, "Yeah, right there, Press got the best food. Best food." And you're like, holy shit. Or like Joe Joe Parker in the middle of an interview, he'd pull his phone out like, "Look at what I get to eat." He's like showing pictures of my I had no idea he was taking pictures of my food. And he's like showing people like, "Look at this. I get to eat this." And I'm like, shit, all right, cool. You know, like you're like, maybe I am doing a good job. You know, maybe I am like the guy that needs to be doing this. You know,
It took a while to get there, huh? I remember in the beginning when you used to come over, like, please just tell me the truth if you hate it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, I wouldn't be calling every week if it was shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you had to get reinforcement through experience to gain confidence in yourself.
Yeah, I did. You know, and I wasn't looking for compliments. I just wanted the real, because like being where I'm from, if somebody cooks me a meal, oh, so good, even though it tasted like shit. And I didn't want it to be that, because I wanted to give a great product to every person I cooked for. And I would go above and beyond to make sure I did that, almost to the point where I would cook sometimes 16, 18 hours a day. Sometimes I would be cooking all day and then properly measuring out. I mean, you remember the containers. I'd have cooler bags full of food. I'd have to make trips. I put 94,000 miles on my truck, on my brand new truck, going all over. Just anybody that would order my food. Where are you? Oh, you're in Gilbert. Oh yeah. I guess I'm driving an hour each way to get this person their food. You know, I knew, you know, that old expression, it takes what it takes. I knew I had to do a lot of that bullshit of driving and all that shit to get to where I'm at now. You know, I had to make the sacrifices. I had to get the chops. I was behind the curve on cooking. That's why I felt. And so I needed to cook more and more and get my food to more and more palates to see if everyone liked my food. And well, you know, everybody did, you know?
Yeah, beyond. Now you're with superstars. It's that good. And they're requesting you now.
Yeah.
So has your phone line been blowing up now with so many different people?
Yeah. Like a lot of people, what are your rates? Oh, I can't afford that. I'm like, well, it's not that expensive, but it's like, I'm living with you every day. I'm tailoring each snack, each supplement, each meal, the time, the weight cut, the rehydration. It's not just, I'm not just there. Well, it got to the point where in Tyson's camp, I was one of the corner guys. I did all the Vaseline for Tyson. I did the water for Tyson, towels. I just knew, I told Tyson, I said, I don't know shit about boxing, but I know if you teach me how to do something once, I can be an asset to you. So I was like, not only am I cooking, let me be an asset in other avenues as well. And I get to learn something. So then I would be next to, you know, Sugar Hill Stewart, which is, his uncle is boxing royalty, Emmanuel Stewart. He is coached the who's who of boxing. And so I'm within earshot of hearing Sugar Hill tell the greatest boxer of all time, no, you need to be back on your back foot. And then I'd be like, why is he on his back foot? He's like, watch. Then I get to see it in action. I'm like, oh, the weight, and then he can move, you know, whatever it may be. So I got to like learn boxing skills, and I got to learn like where the Vaseline goes, how to tape gloves, how to tie a glove, like how to store a glove, all these little things you don't think you need to know. I was like, well, shit, I want to know. I want to know why, I want to be an asset in every avenue that I could, not just food. So even like when we would go to the pressers, I would hold all the bags. Like, just let me hold your bag. I got it. Nobody's going to mess with your Gucci bag or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I would like hold all the bags. I'd have water for him because each interview, your mouth gets dry. Boom. He's got water. Boom, boom, boom. A little snack. Boom. And then he goes to that interview and he can be the best interviewee for that interview. And then it helps his image. I understood the big picture of everything that, like, I have a lot of crazy stories that I'll never tell on camera because it might not ruin an image, but it just, people might look at these different fighters in different light. And it's just, they're not bad. It's just like, they're silly. They're silly stories. You know what I'm saying? And I would never want to ruin anyone's reputation, even though there isn't anything to ruin. It was, how people are.
Yeah, they misconstrue everything.
They would misconstrue it and make it seem like he's whatever. But you get to the point where they trust you. We'd have movie night together. We would have, Tyson's very religious. He loves the Bible, and Sunday nights we'd get in a dark room and he would call his cousin who was a pastor, and Tyson would just ask the most in-depth question. Like Tyson, I tell people there's the Gypsy King and then there's Tyson Fury. The Gypsy King is the loud, funny, shit-talking, badass fighter. And then there's Tyson Fury. Super good businessman, knows business, knows cars like you wouldn't believe, can pull like a random movie quote out from any movie, knows the Bible inside and out, but he's also a really deep thinker. He has all these really deep thoughts. So we'd have like super in-depth conversations about the craziest topics, and you never thought you would get there with a heavyweight boxer. I just never thought I would have these crazy conversations. But
yeah, people think they're knuckle draggers or something.
Yeah, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. Tyson's really smart, really calculated. Also, people think it's an accident that he gets to that level. Oh, he's just a good boxer. There are a lot of good boxers, but he's a showman, a businessman, a great father, a great husband. He really community oriented. He helps his community so much. Like stuff that he'd be like, oh, don't say anything to nobody. I do this, and this. And you're like, wow. He goes, because if people know I did that, they're going to think I'm just doing it because I'm a celebrity and I want the clout. But he does so much shit for that community that people have no idea how this new stadium popped up, or how a child got all these limbs that, he had meningitis and lost his arms and legs, and all of a sudden he has brand new hands and feet.
You know, like a man's man right there.
He is a man's man, and he couldn't have been funnier. He was the funniest, wittiest, like, dude. Like, I mean, sometimes we'd be on our way to the gym and he'd go, Presley, I don't know what it is, but I just want to punch you in the face. I'm like, please don't. He's like, you just got that face. I just want to chin you. And then being around his dad, John, I don't know if you know anything about his dad, John. He is like
spitting image,
old school bare knuckle fighter, like, but hilarious. Like one time, he goes, the funniest thing I'll never forget the day until the day I die. We're standing in the kitchen and Tyson's getting changed or whatever, and John goes, "Look at you. You're 7 foot with an ass like a rabbit." But then he would just say little things like that he didn't intend to be hilarious, but we would I cried laughing, and I just kept saying it over and over to John. And then like a week later I go, "John, I'm still thinking about what you said." He starts laughing, But like being in, living, I lived with Tyson, John, and Tommy Fury. And like getting to see the dynamic between those three, it was, I mean, the shit talking is
unbelievable.
And Tyson kept going, Press, you need to relax. You need to open up to us a little bit. Because I was very business and I didn't want to like fuck up. And he's like, you need to relax, man. You need to relax. And then I started talking shit to Tommy. And then Tyson be like, yeah, there he is. I started to feel like part of the family a little bit, So it was pretty cool to. And then like being with Joe, he's Samoan, right? He's from New Zealand, but he's Samoan. And he is the nicest person you've ever met. Like goes above and beyond to make sure you're taken care of. Are you okay? I'm like, hey, I'm here for you. You know that, right? And then getting to meet his family and seeing how because Joe will go away from his family for 4 months at a time for fight camps, right? He's got 4 little daughters, all under the age of 5. So the sacrifices you get to see these guys, the sacrifices they make. Like Tyson would, on every Sunday for 2 hours, he would go grab one of his kids and take him to the sweets shop and get him candies and crisps and all this stuff. Spend a couple hours with them and then back home. Daddy's got to stay focused. Those are the things that people don't see, So I got to be a part of all that and see the struggles and see them FaceTiming with their daughters, and their daughters are like sobbing, crying, Daddy, I miss you so much. And he's like, I miss you too. And he hangs up the phone and he's like, oh man, I hope this is worth it. Like all this sacrifice, is it worth it? And I'm like, bro, it's worth it. It is. You're making a good family, a good future for your family. You're taking them on vacation. They respect you. They're seeing Daddy out there getting after it. That's very important for them growing up, So you get to see the softer side of these fighters where, sometimes there's a problem in camp and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve this? So you got to be a good problem solver. You got to sometimes shit happens and it's important and really severe, but you got to keep a face on no, we're good. Everything's good. Everything's fine. Like in Joe's first fight, he's openly talked about this. About 3 weeks out from the fight, got a double lung infection. He couldn't breathe. No practicing, couldn't sleep. And then he went in to fight the juggernaut, Joe Joyce, which is 6'6", 265 pounds of guy that just comes forward. And Joe showed a lot of heart. I mean, he lasted 10 rounds. You know what I'm saying? That's a real statement to be made. It didn't go his way, but we knew we had a big problem. We did everything we could to kind of combat that, and it just wasn't our night. So you got to see the agony of defeat with these guys, and then the celebration of winning.
The highs and lows.
The highs are the highest. The lows are the lowest. You go in thinking you're going to win, and then you don't win, and then the energy is just sucked from the team. Nobody will look at each other. Nobody knows what to do. Do we go and comfort the guy? Do we leave him go? It's just this whirlwind of emotions. But at the same time, I wouldn't change it for anything, because there's valuable lessons in defeat as well. You understand what it takes to overcome that defeat and then move on. And then Joe came back and beat his last guy in Massey a few weeks ago. So I got to enjoy a win with Joe in Manchester. So that was really, really great. But
does it help you to see that? You're watching these guys with their highs and their lows, especially the lows, and you're seeing how they're processing everything, right? Because it's crushing. You just did a hard ass camp. You put your body through hell.
Yeah.
The night comes, something stupid like an infection happens, costs you your match.
Yep.
Right? That you've been training for all the time away from family. It's like, fuck, was it worth it? How are you seeing these guys coping and getting back up again for the next one?
Well, I think, we're in this age of everyone has an Instagram, and on that Instagram, they're winning. Nobody puts on their Instagram that they're losing or struggling. I mean, some, but most of the time it's people showing you how they're winning and how they're happy and positive. So to see the other side, you're like, okay, if I fail, it's okay. I can make it up. I can still be a winner, even though I failed in this. It's not a big deal. It's when you lose and then you believe that you're a loser. That's the problem. If you lose and know you're a winner, you'll move on and you'll become a winner in your next fight or your next meal or your next whatever it may be. But if you believe that you're the loser, that's where shit really hits the fan. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to go down that path. So, yeah, being able to watch these guys go, like, after Joe's fight, I saw him down in we were down in the bar at the hotel, and I said, "You doing all right, buddy?" He's like, "I'm not doing all right, but, this is what happens. And, I'm going to take a few days, and I'm going to stop moping and crying about it, and I'm going to move on, and I'm just going to win the next fight." I said, "All right." I was like, wow, he got knocked out in front of thousands of people, and he has the wherewithal to go, yeah, that really sucks and it's embarrassing, but I know that I'm not that. I know that I'm a winner. And you're like, okay, all right, it's a huge lesson for me, especially coming from where I came from, where I felt like I was always losing. Mm-hmm. I was never winning. And now I felt like I was winning, and then we lost. And I'm like, how do I get through this? And then you watch these guys that they put everything on the line, thousands and thousands of dollars to come and do a fight camp to go and not get the victory. That's really hard. So, yeah, it's a valuable lesson to learn.
Mm-hmm. Well, take it from here.
Yeah, I mean, I got an Instagram. It's Food and the Fighters. I just kind of post little videos of what I do, and I got a little link on there for I got a cookbook out. It's poultry only. I'm working on the red meat and seafood book as we speak. I can do some meal planning for you on the website. I can also do you can book me for a 30-minute call, and we can kind of just talk about like anything. If you want to just talk to me and my mindset on things and how I approach things, and maybe some ideas on food, or hey, I'm at the point where you were 7 years ago. This is what I'm thinking about doing. Yeah, let's make a plan of action. Let's, move forward. But then I also got I got a YouTube page coming out called Travel Feast, where I'm gonna be living in the UK. I'm gonna travel all over. I'm gonna eat with chefs. I'm gonna cook with chefs. I'm gonna really show the culture of all these different areas all over Europe and the UK and then even in the United States as well. But like we were talking earlier, one of my heroes is Anthony Bourdain. I got him tattooed on me. I kind of want to give the people that type of inspiration to eat food, to have a sense of community. Don't be afraid to like take a chance and go to a country where you don't speak the language, or how to navigate that whole thing. And so it's going to be called Travel Feast, and this year it's going to be it's a dream of mine to really have my own cooking show and really show my personality, and not just the fight camp guy where I'm like very serious, because I'm a silly, fun guy. Like I love to make people laugh, and I'm emotional. Like if there's a touching moment, I'm for sure going to cry. Yeah. I look like a tough guy. Guaranteed. I'm glad I only cried once on this thing, because like I just feel so much, because it's like I'm so thankful to even fucking be here, because I was going to end my life. And I'm so thankful that I'm fucking here, that everything is super on the surface with me. I'm like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I have friends like Bo. I can't believe I get to go eat food with, these people. I get to travel the world. I get to do all this shit. And it could have never happened because I was going to just end my life, and that's why everything is so touching to me. And I'm so thankful for everything, that like, man, when I have a bad day, I'm like, it's just a bad day. It'll go away. Good days there's more good days than there are bad now. And it's just, it's amazing to be here and be able to tell my story and help. I hope I can help one person. If I can help one person, boom, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Because I think there's so many dudes that are like, I'm just the mad guy. I'm going to bitch about politics on Facebook. I'm going to drink beer, and I'm going to watch sports all day and put all my problems on the back burner and never deal with it. And then I'm going to be 60 years old and go, fuck, where'd my life go?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many guys like that. I absolutely did not want to be that guy. I wanted to take all the chances now and then go, hey, it worked out, or hey, it didn't work out, but at least I tried and I gave it my full effort. So if you're struggling out there and you don't know where to start eating healthy, start talking positive to yourself, take a walk. Don't be consumed with your phone all the time, having stuff in your ears. Listen to yourself. Talk to yourself. If you have a problem at home, go for a walk and talk to yourself about it. I guarantee when you come back from that walk, you're going to feel better. You'll at least deal with the problem and you can move on, So
Beautiful.
I don't know, man.
That's a beautiful way to end it. Fuck yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, no. There's going to be a lot of people in the comments saying this guy's awesome, and thank God you had him on.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate you, first and foremost, just to tell these guys, Bo is the real fucking deal. You're the real deal.
Thank you.
There's no, because you get a podcast following or you get some followers, and then you're like, is that dude even living what he preaches? This motherfucker lives what he preaches. He expects the best out of all of his friends. He expects the best out of himself, almost to a fault sometimes with you, because you're such a perfectionist, but you navigate it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, if you get yourself a bow, and I think it's amazing that a lot of people all over the world get to see this and get a little piece of you. But he's my friend. I can text him and go, hey dude, I'm not doing good. And he'll give me some advice that I know is going to be to the point and what I need to hear at that point. And he knows me, so it's like, find yourself a community, find your tribe of men.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And go do badass shit and know that you're allowed to have great things happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You're
Amen.
allowed to have great things happen to you. And I hope great things happen for everyone. I really do.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir.
We'll have all his links in the description. Please give him a shout and go to his pages and help him launch his page on YouTube, and give him a call if you need some help. See you guys next time.
Thanks.